Welcome to the show that takes up no more than 5 minutes of your time, but could help you gain massive real estate knowledge. It's 5 Minutes in Real Estate with best-selling author Shane Willis.
Hello, Shane Willis, the Pensacola real estate expert, bringing you today's episode. Today I wanted to kind of tell you a story before I dive into the content. I had a seller call me. The seller owns a pizza restaurant. Nice little pizza place. Actually had some really good food. And called me up and said, listen, I'm looking to sell a property, but I'm going to sell it on my own, man. It's just, the market's so tight, I'm going to sell it on my own. But I know that you have a professional photographer. So could you give me their contact information, and could you also send me a copy of a blank contract so that I could use that contract to sell this property on my own, because I want the most up-to-date, make sure I'm legally covered. And finally, I don't know if there's any handyman you have. Is there any way you could send me that stuff? I'd really appreciate it, but I can take it from there, no problem. I asked him, I said, okay, tell you what, let's talk about this. Why don't we talk about it at the restaurant? I went to the restaurant. Before I went to the restaurant, swung by the store, picked up a DiGiorno. Came to the restaurant, walked in, said, hey, listen, tell you what, I want to talk about what you were asking me to do, no problem, but I picked up this pizza. Can we use your nice brick oven? I would like for you to put the pizza in there, bring that out. I'm going to actually grab, if you just hand me one of those cups, I'm going to grab a drink, and then we'll use one of the tables here in your store. I know it's busy, it's lunchtime and all, but I'm going to use one of those to sit down so that we can discuss it. I can lay everything out. It'll probably take about an hour, hour and a half to turn this table. He looked at me and he goes, Shane, are you crazy? This is how I make my living. How dare you bring a pizza into my pizza place and ask me to put it in my brick oven, and this DiGiorno crap is just... And then he paused. The light bulb went off. I just sat there smiling. A lot of times people are asking for professionals. They're asking for the help because they know properties are not selling in 3 hours like a lot of real estate agents are promoting. Instead, it's a couple of week buildup. Then when it goes on the market, once it goes live, maybe. It could go under contract within hours. It could go under contract within days. It could be weeks, months, whatever. But there's a buildup if there's any true getting ready for the market. Pricing, staging, dressing, however we need to do it. So I tell that story. Now, to be honest, that story is something that I have said before. That was not something that happened to me live. Rather, it was an associate friend of mine that did happen to, and that was exactly what he did. And I have always loved that story because it really takes a point. You can try and do this all your own. And there are some people that are having success with it. But I literally have a client I'm working with now that, this is a real story, a buyer client of mine that has bought property with me. She's referred her kids over to me. They're actually in the middle of buying property with me right now. Called me up yesterday and said, hey, there's this house for sale by owner. Okay, I have no problems working with that. I normally work out a deal with the for sale by owner to help facilitate some stuff. But she really wanted to buy the house, so I called the guy up. The guy goes, okay, the seller. He said, well, I've had 3 people call me and want to offer this, so how do I do a highest and best? I went, well, do you want me to take the listing and kind of negotiate with everybody for you? Oh, no, I'm not paying an expert. That was the word he used, expert. I'm not paying an expert a penny to help me with this. I just need to know how to do this and what contract to use and what title company and what... Are you kidding me? That's like walking through the pizza place with a DiGiorno. No. This is how I make my living too. I have spent years, decades. I'm actually one of the few around here that can say decades. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. It kind of makes me feel a little older. I'm not that old though. Anyways. Decades studying real estate, staying up to date, what's the new in the contracts. I've got my broker's license now, all these things. So I have spent time doing all of this. That deserves payment. Honestly, it deserves payment. So one of the things that was one of the main things I wanted to talk about today. But let me kind of go over some of the stuff that you're going to deal with. Here's some of the we kind of made a little list of stuff if you try and sell yourself for sale by owner. You're going to deal with and negotiate with an agent like me who represents this buyer, and this buyer wants the best deal. The buyer, my agent, C, solely represents this buyer, not this seller. Since he doesn't want to pay me for my services, I'm going to skew the contract towards the buyer because that's who's my client. And that, as a for sale by owner, is who you're going to be dealing with. There's going to be an attorney involved most of the time. There could be a title company involved here in Florida, but for the most part, they're backed by an attorney. So there's going to be someone that needs to be able to give an opinion, a title, whether it is a title company. So what happens if there's a title issue? I've had plenty of sellers that had a judgment against their homesteaded property, had no idea the judgment was there, and had no idea what to do. Well, most of the time, and I want to clarify, most of the time, a judgment against a homesteaded property is not allowed. But there's a process. Now, I don't practice law, so I'm going to refer you to an attorney, but I know the process. So I can kind of give you at least the bullet points and then tell the attorney. It takes a little time, but we can get it removed and actually get it done. But again, I've spent time, years, decades studying this. The home inspection company. Guess what? If you're not prepped for a home inspection, you could get eaten alive as a seller. You literally could lose thousands. Almost as much as I would charge in commission, you could lose if you're not prepped for the home inspection. Are there any termite problems? We live in the South. Termites love the stuff around here. And guess what? Termites are not on what they call a WDO, or a wood destroying organism report. Everybody calls it a termite report. Yes, there are termites included in that. But WDO also means wood rot plus some fungus. So if you're not prepared to mitigate that, it could cost you thousands. What happens if the buyer's lender comes out, you've spent a little bit of money to get all this done, but the buyer lender has a particular requirement that they require and you're not even prepped for? Okay. If the title company has certificate issues, what about your survey? Who's ordering that? Who's responsible for that? I don't know. It's negotiable. Who's responsible for picking the attorney or the title company? Well, that's negotiable. What does your contract say? These are all things that could come up. Now, I wrote down your bank in case of a short sale. So you might have to be dealing with a bank if you're trying to short sell it. Most of the short sales have kind of gone away right now. I think I got 3 or 4 working. But last I checked, which was about a week ago, there was only 10 active in the MLS combined. That's all the counties here. So I try and tell you, it's not just about the money. Although selling with an agent typically in this market is getting you a higher percentage, and it's almost covering or more than covering what I charge. I'll give you, for instance, there was a client of mine that wanted to sell a property at a certain price point, and I knew the price. He was right about where market was, and he wanted to sell it for sale by owner. And I knew that was not going to expose him to the buyers that it needed to be exposed to. But he called me up and he asked me, he said, Shane, this is what I want to sell it at. Now, you want to talk about a jaw drop. When we sat down and met, and I said, I want to take the listing, which means I'm going to charge you a commission, and I want to start the price $5,000 under where you're at. I was hoping that he didn't just get up and grab his gun and tell me to get out. But he was a cooler head and said, okay, why? Because I know in this market, if you come in under value, I'm going to maximize the amount of eyeballs that are looking at it. Needless to say, he agreed and kind of gave me a look, but he did agree because he finally figured out that I knew what I was talking about. And he trusts me. There was too many of his friends are clients of mine. So he trusts me on it. He trusts them, and they trust me. We did everything we needed to do to prep for the market. And when it came on the market, just as I predicted, there was a bidding war. And not only did he get what he was asking for, but he got an additional $10,000 over what he paid me. So he earned what he thought he was going to get, plus $10,000, plus enough to take care of my commissions. All because this is what it takes to prep to come to the market. So, can you go out there for sell by owner and sell a property? Yes. Do you open yourself up for a lot of risk? Absolutely. And I'm not talking about just today. It could be tomorrow, it could be next week, it could be next month, it could be next year. There's a whole lot of risk that needs to be mitigated, and there's a whole lot to it. When you come to selling a property, I have a webinar that I'm wrapping up right now, all the prep work on. We've identified 118 different tasks that need to be managed when selling a property. 118. Most people don't have that type of time. But don't just think that you can call me or call an agent up and get some of the information for free when that's really their job. Don't be the guy that owns the pizza place and somebody else walks in with a DiGiorno. Just don't do it. All right, that's all I got for you today. As always, if you have not subscribed to get the tips, tricks, graphs from the podcast, get over to 5minutesinrealestate.com. That's 5minutesinrealestate.com. Also, if you hadn't get over to iTunes, I just checked iTunes yesterday. Looks like we're pretty high. I think I searched Minutes Real Estate, and we were number 20 something. So thank you. Get over to iTunes. Get over to Google Play. Find the podcast. That's usually a good way to look. Hit Minutes Real Estate. You hit Real Estate, there's so many of them out there. It's tough to find us. But if you hit Minutes Real Estate, we're in the top 25. You'll see my gorgeous mug along with the logo from the podcast on it. Subscribe. Give us a thumbs up. Give us a comment. Be nice. And also, if you found any value in this or any other episode, I'm going to ask that you share it on social media. I know we went a little longer today, but I really love that story because I think it really drives a good point home. Have a fantastic Tuesday.